Habari gani? Imani. Imani is faith. Habari gani? What's the news? Imani. Faith. Faith is when you hope for something, but you don't see how in the world it's going to happen, but you still believe it's going to happen. You know, kind of like when you go over to turn on the light switch and you don't know how that's going to work, but you believe that when you hit that switch that says on, it's going to light up. That's faith. Now this story is one that my great-grandmother, Mary Evans, told me when I was a little girl. And I like it because it reminds me that as long as we're living, there's hope. Okay? And so when you know that there's hope, you can have faith. Now, she told me that this story was one that someone who knew her back in the early 1900s told her. Now, she was a missionary, and she would help people all the time. Well, this one man, they always called him the gambler, and he called her and told her to come because he wanted to talk to her. And she said his funeral was held at night to represent the life he lived. She called this story The Gambler. She said, I was called to the bedside of a dying friend one day. The TB germ had captured him. His debt was hard to pay. As I entered his small room, which was rather bare, just bones he lay, his flesh had all gone, his eyes seemed to stare, he said, sit down, my friend. Do have a seat. Friends like us so seldom meet. I have a tale I want to tell to you, my friend, I know so well. He said, this tale goes back to years ago, when I was just a child, you know, climbing upon my mother's knees, begging if she still loved me. My dad left home when I was small, though not my mother's fault at all. She taught me Jesus crucified. For you and me, he bled and died. He said he grew up as youngsters do. He was reckless, kind-hearted, and true. But when he thought he was a man, his mind took on a different plan. The world reached out and called to him, and he answered back, too blind to see. Old Satan, who told him he was a man, he said his poor old mother didn't understand. Then, as the father, so the son. When his day's work was done, he left his mother sick in bed. He wrote back home, but she was dead. He said, poor dear mother, this grieved me so, but how was I going to know that someday I'd need her smiling face, that no one else could take her place? Some folks drink and never gamble. He did both, and then he rambled, danced, drank all night long, whiskey, wine, women, and song. He won his name one gambling night, won all the money they had in sight. Gambling night, he won with fame. Most every gambler has a name. He said that years went by, and he tried to gain the weight he had lost. And little by little he tried. He started to cough. And as he tried to gain the weight he had lost, day by day he faded away. No mother did come and say, how do he do? Or if he felt like he could eat a decent meal. Then he told my grandmother, he said, I am just bones. Please look at me. Do come up close. Now can't you see? I'm sinking fast, fast as can be. I'm dying like a faded tree. He heard the doctor when he said, when he pronounced his body dead. Because he said, these pains he then no longer bear, nor this cruel world no longer care. He told my grandmother his eyes were dim and he just could barely see, but he knew that that cold, dark grave awaited for me. He had made his choices in life. We all make choices in life every day, whether we choose to do something or choose not to do something. We make our choices. He said that he felt like he was lost and that Satan had won. And my grandmother, Mary, she said, salvation is free, sweetheart, for all humankind. She tried to comfort him. In his heart, he knew that he had made bad choices in his life, and that material things, they come and go, but the things that we need, money can't buy. Choose those things that are eternal. Harambe, 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 and have a happy and prosperous new year. Happy Kwanzaa, everyone!